All right, let's do some formal welcomes. Really quickly again, the theme for this year that I chose is working together. At first I was like very, perhaps naively thinking that working together, that we are actually better working together, but I know that perhaps it's better to just be thinking that, you know what, it's just a fact. We have to work together. So rather than think that we're actually better sometimes we are and sometimes we're not, that we ought to just admit to ourselves that in order to do the work that we need to do, we have to work together. And that's the theme for the year. And so that's kind of what we're working towards, and I'll talk a little bit more when we have our presenters come out. In that spirit, I'm hoping that our shared governance leaders can come up. Do I have a representative from local, hold on. Local 39? No, okay. Richard, do you want to come on up? Let's give our shared governance leader a hand. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Richard Tholey, work at District Admissions and Records Office, and am the SEIU chapter president here at Peralta. I did mention something about, according to the theme in fall about working together and doing so respectfully and moving forward that way. I also want to challenge, at this point, faculty, staff, administrators to question. Okay, as we work together, I believe it's important to question if things are being done accurately, if policies and procedures are being followed, and I think we're at a time at Peralta that we need to start questioning those things, but not quietly, not internally. I think we need a voice and express our concerns with what's going on at the district, throughout the district, in your departments, with administrators, and not just sit idly by. We have many issues that are coming within the next couple years that are going to directly affect faculty and classified staff and the ability to retain our positions and be able to service students. So we really need to get out and be vocal and represent our classified, our respective positions and roles, and work together respectfully, raise these questions, but also not be hidden in our departments, behind our computer screens. We really need to come out to meetings, and I want to challenge classified staff to be more involved in your union, more involved in your senates. I'm going to several meetings, and classified staff are really lacking in these areas, and classified staff do have a voice. So all together, we need to stand up, question, work together, and really start coming out of the woodwork and not be afraid to raise these questions that directly affect us and our communities. Thank you.
Glenn Pace from the Classified Senate.
Good morning, everyone. To President Tamil Gickerson, Laney College Administrative Executives, classified executive staff, classified professionals, student body president, and Laney College students, and any other dignitaries if you're present. For those who might not know me, I'm Glenn Pace. I'm the interim president of the Classified Senate. Many of you are aware that our former president of the Classified Senate, Mr. Robert Tracy, is no longer with us at Laney College. The classified professionals want to recognize the awesome job and leadership Mr. Tracy executed as he served as our president. We wish him the best in his next endeavor. Brandy Howard, our prior president of the Classified Senate, set the bar high, and Mr. Tracy kept the classified agenda moving, pushing the bar even higher, and it is my plan to stay the course, not to deviate from assuring that the classified voice is not only heard, but is taken seriously as a vital stakeholder in student success. There are many challenges facing the Peralta College District as a whole, and the impact will be experienced collectively and individually by many of us here at Laney College and the district abroad. Some of our hourly classified professionals have already been affected, and we cannot and should not sustain any further eliminations within our ranks. We are on the front line to student success and take pride in assisting our students. I believe we work and serve among some of the best, the brightest, and the talented professionals in the Bay Area. I hear it from our students. I observe it on the smiles on their faces when they have attained their class schedules and are often running, pursuing their dreams. I also observe it on graduation day on their faces and the faces of their support systems, their families, their friends, and the community. But sadly to say, I have also heard it from the other side. For instance, yesterday, a student returning to register, to re-register, I saw him go into the tower for several hours back and forth. He was very frustrated. I gave him an ear to voice his frustration, and he informed me it took him about 4 hours to re-register. He said he had not experienced this on any other Peralta Community College campus. He added that the staff did their best to assist him, but information in the computer network was not accurate. And I'm sure I was not the first ear that he had, and neither was my ear the first that he told of his struggles. The pain of seeing him struggle made me think, what are we here for? I just want to let us know as we go forward into this semester to understand that our students are determined, they demand, and they deserve the best of our service as they navigate to be their best. So let there be a paradigm shift in our thinking towards our students. Good morning, Laney College. Let's begin the work that is necessary to lift our students higher.
Thank you, Glenn. Next up, I would like to introduce Jennifer Shnosky, PFT President.
Good morning and Happy New Year to all of the faculty, staff, administrators, and maybe some students that are gathered here this morning. My name is Jennifer Shnosky. I'm a chemistry teacher at Merritt College and president of the Peralta Federation of Teachers, the union that represents all faculty, part and full-time alike, at the 4 colleges. Instructors, nurses, counselors, and librarians are all counted among us. As many of you have probably heard by now, we start 2019 with a number of challenges. The district is looking into a legislative audit and has also requested that the Fiscal Crisis and Management Team, which you'll hear referred to as FCMAT, come to our district to help us with the financial woes that continue to plague the district. Many of these are things that the PFT has been discussing and pointing out to the administration and board for years. We're hopeful that with assistance from the state, the district can get a handle on the many basic functions it continues to bobble. Peralta went through a nearly identical process less than a decade ago and emerged from it in better shape. Governor Newsom's January budget proposal provides some potential good news, including large increases in funding for public education and a 3.6% cost of living adjustment. The PFT will fight for faculty money to go into faculty pockets where it was intended, instead of being rolled into the general budget as the district is attempting with this year's 2.7% COLA. PFT is fighting to get the district to do the right thing with this year's money, and will do the same with next year's. A fight made all the more urgent for faculty, particularly our newer members, by the soaring cost of living in the Bay Area. The other large issue facing our district is, of course, enrollment. Our district's enrollment has decreased every year since 2015, the last year that I could look up on the BI tool, and the decline will begin to significantly affect our budgeting soon. The PFT is concerned that our administration continues to respond by cutting classes. A class of 15 students provides enough revenue to pay for the average part-time instructor's salary. The colleges are open and overhead is already paid for, so why would we cut any class with more than 15 students? Also, and crucially, by turning away students, the district is both shirking its core mission and risking its financial future. FTES will remain the biggest part of college funding, even under our new funding model. And by reducing the number of students we serve now, Peralta will see its base enrollment drop, and that will mean less money going forward. It's also a curious way to balance the budget, considering that we just passed an extension to our parcel tax, money that Peralta promised taxpayers would be used to keep our classes open. The PFT continues to implore the district administration to think twice before making additional cuts and to truly put the educational needs of our students first. In closing, I'd like to express solidarity with the United Teachers of Los Angeles, who today embark on their 4th day of a strike, and also with the Oakland Educational Association, who are preparing for a similar difficult battle. We stand with these teachers who are fighting for the schools that their students deserve. PFT was out in force at last Saturday's OEA rally downtown and will continue to provide as much strong support as we can. The PFT is hosting a workshop this afternoon where we'll hear from members of our Executive Council about what's happening within the district. We'll be gathering at 3:45 in F201, and light refreshments will be provided. The PFT also invites all of you to join our contingent at the 3rd Annual Women's March in Oakland this Saturday. We'll be gathering at the PFT offices at 9 o'clock for coffee, donuts, and some sign making. And then we'll head over to the Merritt Amphitheater to join the rally and march around 9:30. We hope that all of you will join us. Thank you, and have a great day and rest of the semester.
Next up, thank you, is Donald Moore, President of the District Academic Senate.
Good morning. Happy New Year's to everybody. This morning, when I saw the Star Wars cranes, you know, I was thinking that one of the iconic things that I love about this city are these images that we invoke when we talk about Oakland. And for us faculty, it's our students. We care so deeply for our students. And I think when new people come, whether administrators or faculty or classified, when they come here, one of the things that they constantly talk about is how much we care for our students. And I think that through all of the stuff that we go through, I think that's a quality that we have and that we need to take ownership of and really give ourselves the love, right? That we are here and we are making a difference in people's lives. And I think that that's probably something that I know that as a Senate president, I lose sight of sometimes because I get boggled down with all of the different stuff that goes on. But I do hope that one of the things that people take away from these meetings, these flex days that we have, is that we're all in it together, and that we need to be able to work together. We need to show that love to one another, the respect to one another, and get the work done. And we're going to disagree, right? But I think all of us need to acknowledge that we are coming at it maybe from different perspectives, right? Nobody wants to sink Peralta. We all love our students and we want to do stuff. So I hope that the message that goes out today to administrators, to faculty, to classified, to students, is that we are all trying here to make each student be as successful as they want to be. And I think if that message could resonate, particularly this semester, I think that we would have achieved something. We're going to have a very, very difficult semester. Most of you in the classroom may or may not experience it, but it's going to have some major ramifications on us as we move forward. And I won't belabor the point in terms of what the presenters before had said, and ultimately when the chancellor comes up here and talks about the various issues that are besetting this district. But the issues are important. There are going to be disagreements, and we need to respect each other's viewpoints, right? We may not agree, but we need to respect it. And so as part of that, in terms of DAS, we are taking a particular position regarding the cuts that are going to be made. We are adamant that for every dollar that the colleges are going to have to cut, we want the district to cut 3. We make no bones about it. We will tell everybody about that. Okay? Now, that's not to say that we have, this negative about the district and all of the people who work there. That's not the issue. The issue is that we're bloated, and we really need to recognize that. Okay? And so as we move forward, we're going to work. We're going to work with FICMAT. We're going to work with the administrators. We're going to work with the classified, because we recognize the issues that the classified has gone on. We know that I was surprised to see Dale here fixing the microphone, because I go, Dale was gone because of the hourlies, right? And so now I'm going like, what's going on, right? All 300 hourlies. And so this place just has so many twists and turns to it that you have to take a while before you catch up with what's going on. So I don't know necessarily if it's just about individuals in key positions. I think, coming as an anthropologist and a cultural anthropologist, I see a lot of this in terms of systems and culture. And part of it is that when people don't pay bills and we get fire notices on the door of the theater, there's something fundamentally wrong that can't get executed. And part of that is we, and I'm talking about the collective we, need to have higher expectations of the people who are executing and the systems that it needs to go through in order for it to happen. I don't know all of the issues that prompted us not paying a bill, right? But fundamentally, we need to hold people and systems accountable. There needs to be transparency about it, right? And that's where we, in terms of DAS, try to put the light on and say and demand some level of transparency, okay? And it's crazy because I would rather worry about diversity in terms of our faculty. I would rather work on those kinds of issues. I would rather work on DE types of issues. I would rather work on a variety of different ones. But these bigger issues of accreditation, right? These bigger issues of the deficit that we're experiencing, all of those ones are the ones that we have to engage with. And we're concerned that every time we go and send a resolution to the board doesn't respond. But yet in our policies, they're supposed to respond, and they haven't done so, okay? And part of it is that people don't know the policies, and they're basically ignoring the policies. And so that's something that we're going to work on this year, because with a new board majority, maybe, just maybe, they'll respond more. So those are the kinds of issues that we're looking forward to. We will constantly try to communicate to all of you about what's going on. We will try to alert people what the effects are going to be. In the next month, month and a half, we'll have a clear idea about what we're going to address in fall, because we have to make decisions about cuts. And so in order to give particularly our part-time faculty notice, if there's going to be any shrinkages there, we want to let people know early. We don't want to come in and make decisions 1 week before the fall starts, right? So those are the things I think all faculty have to hold us, DAS and PFT, accountable for, and say, no, we want to know what's going on. And so the expectation is that we, as your representatives, need to communicate. And so please hold me accountable, and hold the chancellor, hold everybody accountable in terms of providing you with the necessary information. Thank you very much.
Can we give one more hand to all our reps? There's a lot of thankless work that goes into trying to lead from the classified, from Local 39, from the union and the different Senate ranks. And I think it's great to have them have a chance to speak. I want to walk really quickly through the day. If you missed the very beginning, the cards that I handed out are gratitude cards. So you should write someone's name down in Peralta who you want to thank for supporting you, and turn it into this basket up here, and we'll have the basket available afterwards. But really quickly, we did our shared governance. The rest of the day is a bit of an experiment. We're shortening the morning. We're going to have a talk from a few folks who I'll introduce in a second. The chancellor will then address us, and then we'll have a late morning workshop at 11 o'clock, a set of workshops. Please check out the agenda for them, and if we have time at the end, I'll walk through them a little bit more. And then there's actually a working lunch, and we will be delivering lunches to you. Hopefully. No, we will. It's going to be a bit of a logistical thing, so please be patient with lunches. And then after that, there are 2 afternoon workshop sessions. So please check out the agenda for those sessions. The idea is that rather than have you sit here all morning, that I want people out, and to also honor a lot of the work that's happening out there. There's a lot of cool workshops. These are things that are happening, that people are doing. There's a lot of leadership that people are taking, and I wanted to highlight that. So that's why the day has been kind of redesigned in this way. What I want to do is this, for today, like last Flex and like the one before, we wanted to highlight some stuff that was going on already. Some leadership taken on by groups of faculty and other folks coming together to solve different problems. So today is really about equity and technology. We know that technology is both a core part of the work that the systems that we need to use. We're introducing new systems like Canvas, and there's a lot of new opportunities out there, and we have 2 groups that are going to speak. But before we get into that, before we hear about those projects, I think it's important that we sit and hear from a student's perspective. And so we have a very unique opportunity to have Corey Hollis, who's a former student trustee. Hold on, there's a longer list of things. He has been a crucial part of the distance education rollout team. I have a video of him kind of talking to students in my shell about how to kind of navigate it. So he's played that role, and he's just starting Cal today. In fact, he's going to speak, and then he's got to run to an orientation. And I was like, how are you feeling today? He's like, there's a lot going on. And I totally understand. So I want you to give a lot of love for Corey, who's going to come up and talk as he comes up. So thank you, Corey, for coming to speak.
Good morning, Peralta family. How y'all doing? So during my stay here at Peralta District, I've had the chance to see education in many different perspectives, right? You can see the list. And one thing that I've gathered from, my stay in Peralta District was when I was working with the district's education department, and we went to Orlando for the online learning consultorium to talk about the equity online rubric, right? And as I'm looking through it and going through what I'm supposed to say upstage and stuff like that, it got me to thinking about how this online equity rubric is not just useful for online learning, because of course we know that the purpose of it is to close that gap between underrepresented students and online. But for this rubric is or could be used for any perspective or not any perspective, but for any portion of our education here at Peralta District, from administration to face-to-face classes or whatever, what have you. So, with that, I wanted to give you an example of a face-to-face class that I was in that points to a particular category on this list. Right? For confidentiality's sake, I'm not going to mention the name of the teacher or the name of the class, but I'm going to take you back. So, I was in this class, right? And we take quizzes every single week, about 7-question quiz that kind of goes over the lesson plan for what we were talking about during the week. This particular quiz we were taking was going over the differences between denotations and connotations. Denotations being technically a defined or specific meaning of a word, connotations being like a subjective or social meaning of a word, right? So going through this test, knocking off my little answers and shooting down, and you get to this question on a test, and it goes like this, right? The words girl, chick, and slut are A, denotations, B, connotations, C, denotations and connotations, or D, neither denotations or connotations, right? So I'm going to ask y'all to participate with me real quick, right? You see, by show of hands, right, the words girl, chick, and slut are A, denotations, no? B, connotations, no? C, denotations and connotations. Really? Wow. Or D, neither denotations or connotations. That's interesting. It's not exactly what I was expecting to see from the crowd. But either way, I get through this test, looking at these things, and turn in my test, and the teacher goes over the questions to the test during the class. So he gets up stage, and he's talking to us and stuff like that, and he goes over his answers, and he gets to the answer that I was just referring to you guys about girl, chick, and slut. And he stands up there with confidence in front of the class and says that the answer to this question was C, denotations and connotations. Which is kind of funny because there are a lot of people that raise their hands for that question. But that is to say that the words girl, chick, and slut mean the same thing, right? Most of the people in this class, we're sitting over here looking at each other like, oh, he can't be for real. Wow, really? What's going on with this? No. So there was a couple of students that raised their hands and say, no, teacher, I think that the answer is D. And he stood up there with great confidence, like, no, it's not. This is da-da-da-da-da, y'all blah, blah, yakety, smackety, da-da-da-da-da, and all this, and defending his answer to the bone. So I made it my duty to stay after class and have a face-to-face with this instructor and let him know, in my mind, how I felt that this answer was not only incorrect logically, but how this answer was also very disrespectful to the people in that class. Like, how could you say that to the students, right? So through conversation and dialogue, I finally got him to, I say I'm kind of giving away a little bit of information. But anyway, through dialogue and conversation, we got to a point where he was able to submit and say, okay, I was wrong, and I will give everybody that had that answer on the test, credit for what they said. And the next class period, he apologized to the class. But the point to that is, when it comes to these categories on this online equity rubric, human biases that are not acknowledged by the teacher or recognized by the teacher don't belong in the classroom, right? And that's just one of many things that I've seen throughout my stay. But there are many ways that we can find connection with equity from this rubric that we see in front of us today, like providing content with meaning or relevancy to their current lives that are going on at this present point in time. I would hope that there will be classes in Peralta District and, say, poli-sci that are having conversations about the current shutdown that has happened in America that won't stop until they build a wall that blocks Americans from America, right? Stuff like that. Or having conversations about how, the strikes that are going down in LA between teachers and things of that nature. Or say financial economics classes that are having discussions and conversations about the current measures that we've been gifted at this district and asking students how they feel about how those funds should be utilized. Right? Bringing them into the conversation. Or say, I would encourage any class to give extra credit to students that would go to student government meetings or to Peralta board meetings or shared governance meetings and bringing back reports to the class to let them know what's going on in their campus and around. Or say leave 5 minutes before or after class so that students can stand up in front of the class and let them know all the events and resources and stuff like that are going on the campus. Because we know that when it comes to human fears, one of the biggest ones is stage fright. And getting students used to that is actually building on their character, right? The purpose behind this is, when it comes to equity, we want to create access for all students, because when we create access for all people to participate in education, then we create a conversation and a knowledge base that has the diversity to change the world for a better place for the next generations and generations to come. And that's the purpose behind equity to me, so that we can all participate in the global conversation. With that, actually, like I said, I do have to jump out of here and go straight to this orientation. But I wanted to let y'all know that my stay here was very rich. I enjoyed being here with you all and learning from administration on down to the students. And I can't thank y'all enough for what y'all have done for me. And I'm going to take everything that I've had from Peralta District and take it to the next level, bringing the eagle to the bear, if you will. Yeah. So I thank you all, and y'all have a great Flex Day. Say.
Amazing, amazing. To kind of bring us in, the next group up is the Open Educational Resources Group. Heather Dodge, Jenny Yap, and Andrew Park. So I'm going to invite them to come up. One of the reasons that I was excited about this is that they've been working together on grants. We have librarians here thinking about textbooks, and the energy that they have in meeting and thinking about all of these things in the same way with the distance ed community, I think is really, really amazing. And so I've learned a lot just by even trying to put this presentation together, and learned how thoughtful we've been at kind of pushing and pulling at each other and trying to figure out how to make a presentation happen to share this great work that's going on. So please give them a hand. I'm going to introduce Heather Dodge to kick us off.
Oh, hi everybody, I'm Heather Dodge and I'm a librarian at Berkeley City College. And I just want to resonate a couple things that Corey said in closing when he was speaking, and he talked a little bit about the idea that access is really important to equity. And I guess that's a feeling of mine as we sort of deal with some of these bigger issues that are happening on our campuses, that we remember that access is one of the main goals of our campuses and of our district, to make sure that education, our classes, our services are accessible to students. And so I think that a lot of my feelings and my sort of connection to equity is rooted in that idea of access, and that is sort of at the heart of what OER is all about. And I think there's a misperception that OER stands for online educational resources, but the O in OER actually stands for open. And that resonates with me as well, because I want our campuses to stay open to faculty, to students, to anyone who comes in and wants to learn. So sort of a general definition of OER is that OER materials are materials that you can find in the public domain or that are licensed through a Creative Commons license that are allowed to be reused and repurposed and remixed and adapted for your classes for free. So a lot of people think of them as being free textbooks, and sometimes that's what it is, but other times it might be using videos from Khan Academy, or it might be finding an openly licensed or a public domain book and using that in your class in lieu of using a traditional textbook. So I came to BCC. This is the first community college I'd worked at about 6 years ago, and I was very naive about the costs of textbooks for students. So I started doing some research when I found out about OER, because Jenny and I were passed along a grant from an administrator, and this administrator said, I think you guys would be kind of interesting to lead this because it has to do with books. And so I started doing a little bit of research about the cost of textbooks for students, and I just want to get a show of hands. How many people think for the average nationwide community college student that a college student pays about $500 a year for their textbooks? And this is for full-time students. Okay, you guys are not as naive as I was. Okay, how about between 500 and 1,000? Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, how about 1,000 and 1,500? Raise your hand. Okay, yeah. So actually, an average full-time student pays about $1,400 for their textbooks in a year. And this is interesting because it is about $200 to $300 more than a student pays at a four-year private or public institution. So community college students are actually, on a national average, paying more for their books than for those that are in a private school or in a four-year. I'm a librarian, so I have a citation down at the bottom here, and I got that information from the IPEDS data. So I really was finding that textbook costs were feeding the equity gap, and I was seeing this on a day-to-day basis in the library. One day I went to our student worker who was working at the circulation desk, and I saw she had just a handmade list of student emails and phone numbers, and I said, oh, what's this? And she said, these are students that are waiting for a textbook, and I'm gonna call them when the textbook comes back in because they're all trying to study for a test, and we only have 4 copies of this textbook, and they're all checked out. So I started doing a little bit more investigation and found that students were sometimes waiting hours for textbooks to come back into the library, and that there was a direct correlation between the cost of textbooks and the amount of times that they circulated in the library. So that was very disturbing to me because it indicated that students were desperate and needing these materials, and many of them were likely not purchasing textbooks and relying on a library copy to get through their classes. Another thing that was interesting is as I took over as department chair, I found that we were spending about 1/3 of our budget every year, our third of our books budget, refreshing textbooks, and that is not traditional for most academic libraries. Most academic libraries don't purchase textbooks as part of their collection development policy, but it's really integral to ours because our students need access to those resources. So I started feeling like, wow, what is this whole textbook issue? And what I found is that from 1977 to 2015, textbooks have risen, the cost has risen over 1,000%. That's 3 times the national or the inflation level, and more than any other consumer product. and that about 2/3 of students do not purchase textbooks for a class because of the cost. So this is adapted from another slide presentation, and I don't like actually citing slide presentations, but that's just my pet peeve. So my beginnings of OER really began in this idea of equity and access. But as I sort of moved into managing this grant, which was basically to provide faculty professional development and information about OER so that they could make an informed decision about whether or not they could adopt an OER text for their class. So I started talking with faculty and presenting and just as a librarian doing what librarians I think do best, which is search and discovery. I started working with faculty to help them find and adopt OER textbooks, and then we started this wonderful collaboration with College of Alameda and Andrew Park to have faculty work in disciplinary groups to find materials together. And this sparked this, I'm saying sparked joy for me. If anyone's watching Tidying Up on Netflix, if there's anything in my job that is sparking joy right now, it is OER, and that is definitely in my keep pile when it comes to my day-to-day. So when I started seeing faculty work together, it was this amazing moment where I realized that not only were we meeting students in terms of their needs around equity, but we were also forging new paths for new pedagogies and new ways of presenting materials to students. So it was sort of this nice collaboration that we were able to form. I think that was an unexpected piece in terms of my experience, and I think some of my other colleagues' experiences as well, was just how wonderful it was to be able to work collaboratively on content, on how we present materials to students. And the other thing that's fun and interesting about OER is, unlike a traditional textbook, let's say you have some of those homogeneous examples or test questions that you don't feel quite resonate with your students, similar to what Corey presented just before. The example I thought he presented was really good. You can take that out. Let's say there's an image that is a representation of a family that doesn't look like the families you know that our students have. You can take that image out and find a new image and replace it. If you're reading through a chapter and you don't like the examples that they're giving, with OER materials, for the most part, you can take that example out and you can put your own example in. You can also remix materials. So let's say that you don't like how one chapter of a textbook presents a certain concept. You can take that chapter out and put in a different chapter or write your own. So it's been this amazing way of building and creating new materials. So I don't want to speak too much more about it. I'm going to show a really short video with some of the faculty perspectives. So you'll see some faces that you recognize here. These are faculty that have either adopted low cost, zero textbook cost, or OER materials. And they're going to speak a little bit about that.
I'm Daniel Najar. I teach math. I've been here 12 years.
My name is Jennifer Fowler. I teach communication.
I'm Vancing Nguyen. I teach math.
My name is Melina Bersaman. I'm a psychology instructor.
My name is Maria Guzman, and I teach art history.
My name is Andrew Park. I teach physics.
I'm Charlotte Lee, and I teach political science and global studies.
My name is Katie Bowe, and I teach geography.
My name is Ben, and I teach physics.
My name is Trish Nelson, and I teach English.
I use an online text at a website called OLI. The text was designed by the Carnegie Foundation.
For my cultural class, for example, I use an e-text that was developed from a professor out of Cal State Northridge.
OpenText has a textbook called University Physics, which matches the topics perfectly.
I didn't find a single textbook where I liked all of the chapters. And so what I did is I curated my material, which was great. They were reading all the material that I thought was relevant and interesting.
Students not being able to afford a textbook really goes out the window when I have OER.
The flexibility. I can change articles based on what we're talking about in class, what students are interested in.
OER materials, or putting together a ZTC course, allows for a lot of flexibility in what I can assign students.
Students have also remarked that they like the quality of the material and appreciate the numerous formats that it comes available.
I found that 3 weeks into the semester when we started taking quizzes, students still didn't have their books. Their financial aid checks hadn't been cut yet.
About 2/3 of the way, I found out she didn't have the text in my class. And I said, but this is your third time. What did you do the first 2 times? She said, I never could afford to buy it then. I didn't have it the first 2 times.
My second semester here at College of Alameda, I had one student in particular who was extremely bright, extremely capable, but I noticed that this particular student was getting, less than ideal quiz score. The student eventually confided in me that, yeah, they hadn't bought the textbook, they weren't going to buy the textbook, sort of winging it with Googling things and looking things up on Wikipedia. And this was a student that I know could have gotten at least a B, if not an A. And this was my equity moment.
Writing quiz questions or taking quiz questions from different test banks and activities, that was challenging because I was used to, quite honestly, having the publisher provide that information to me, having to gather all of that assessment material on my own. That was very, very time consuming.
I started looking for OER materials about a year ago, so last January. There wasn't as much available as there was even 3 or 4 months after that. Don't be afraid to borrow content from other disciplines. For example, for my persuasion class, from philosophy or logic. So I found a few open source logic textbooks or resources. And so I was able to pull some content from similar or like disciplines.
Choose a course that you're excited about, and also consider the cost of the textbook.
Be patient, and that it is worth it. That whatever time that you need to put, whatever slight issues that might come up, it'll all be worth it.
I would say students are really appreciative of courses that are ZTC. They love it when they can download materials from the internet, or if it's an OER textbook, that they can get it at 0 cost.
Just dive in and try it. You can simply select one chunk of your course material and adopt OER for that. I think that you'll find it challenging, fun, and a great way to engage students.